What's going on? This is Hayden Crabtree. I have a very, very special message for you guys today, something that's very near and dear to my heart: how to run a storage facility. What is the best way to run a storage facility? That is my specialty in the real estate investment world, is self-storage investing. Okay, so I want to transfer some lessons that I've learned over the last 4 years of being a self-storage investor, being a real estate investor, about what is the best way to be a self-storage property owner. What's the best way to run it day to day? There's actually a lot of different ways. A lot of people come into self-storage, they think it's this easy business plan, and I have a rude awakening for you guys who want to get into self-storage that thinks it's all just going to be, cheer and jolly. Now, self-storage has some really great features, as opposed to apartments, as opposed to other types of commercial real estate. Self-storage has some great features. So I'm going to talk about those real quick, but really I have 3 different ways that you can run a self-storage facility. I want to talk to you about what I do to run self-storage facilities and kind of how I got there to knowing that the way that I do it, in my opinion, is the best way to do it. And I want to teach you that so that if you are thinking about getting into self-storage, you can learn from my mistakes. If you're thinking about getting into self-storage, you can learn some pitfalls that you might have encountered that you didn't know about. Hopefully I can teach those to you today, okay? So listen, I want to ask a quick favor. If you're watching this video and you're not subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to grow this channel. I want to put out more content for you guys, what it actually takes to be a real estate investor. Okay, so number 1, please subscribe to the channel. Number 2, smash the like button. I would super appreciate it so more people can see this. And then number 3, if you hadn't gotten my book yet, it's a bestseller. I give away the audio book and the PDF copy absolutely free. Link in the description, okay? So let's go ahead and jump in. What is the best way to run a storage facility? Now, if you're not familiar with a storage facility, it's essentially just these properties where, it's concrete pads with metal boxes that people, when they're moving or they need extra space to clean out the garage, they go and they just throw stuff in it and they lock it and they rarely ever come around. So it's a beautiful investment because people don't live there, people rarely visit the property, and people need this type of real estate. They need to rent it from you, so it's a great investment to own, okay? Because when people are moving from place to place, if I'm moving from one apartment to another or from one city to the next, then I need somewhere to put self-storage. I need somewhere to put, my couch. I need self-storage space between when I'm moving between places to throw stuff in. Or on the other hand, if I'm a local resident, I have an overcrowded garage, which it seems like every garage I've ever seen is overcrowded, and I want to clean it out so I can park my car in there, whatever it may be. Maybe I have some emotional items I can't get rid of, then I'm going to go rent a self-storage unit as an extra garage to my house where I can throw all my extra stuff that I don't need all the time, okay? So here's the thing about the demand for self-storage, is that if people demand self-storage, then you have to provide it, but the question really becomes, what is the best way to run a property as a business, okay? So if I'm running this as a business, I have to know a couple things. 1, people rarely ever come around, but when they do come around, they want to talk to somebody. The second thing is that there's not a whole lot of activity once a customer moves in. But to be an efficient, economical self-storage business, it needs to be a big property, okay? If you see these small little strips that are, 10, 15, 20, 30 units, those are not economical. And that's why most people fall into this trap whenever they buy these, okay? They fall into this trap of, hey, this is gonna make really good money because I'm gonna do all the work myself. And that is the first way that you can run one of these properties is, hey, I'm gonna do all the work myself, okay? I'm gonna buy this property and I'm gonna clean out units, I'm gonna lease units, I'm gonna, take customer payments, I'm gonna do everything myself. And what you're doing there, you're not buying a real estate investment, you're buying a job, okay? And to be a real estate investor, we want to make money without having to trade time for money. That's what real estate investing is all about, making money without spending time. So if you're thinking about going and buying a self-storage place, self-storage property, and you're thinking, I'm gonna do all this work myself, you're not buying an investment, you're buying a job. So please don't do that. Number 1 way most people do it is they're gonna do everything themselves. That is not for you. The second way that most people run a self-storage facility is they're gonna pay somebody else to do it, okay? So you have, let's call it a 200, 400 unit property, okay? And you're gonna pay somebody to sit at the desk all day, and you're gonna essentially have them, when somebody comes in, wants to rent a unit, or somebody calls in to see if you have any units available, they're gonna take the phone call, they're gonna move the person in, they're gonna collect the bills. Everybody gets this. We're gonna hire a manager to manage this property for us, okay? And that's really the second way to do it. And that's how I started. My first property was a 65 unit, and I thought I was gonna do everything myself, okay? I'm telling you guys this from my own experience, okay? I'm not just making this up. This is my progression through. Okay, first unit, 65 unit, I'm gonna do everything myself, and quickly I learned that this was a job. I didn't want to do this. So whenever I went to go hire somebody, I learned that the smaller properties don't really work to pay somebody else because they just don't generate enough income to pay somebody else and then for me to also make money. Okay, so then I realized I need to buy a bigger property. So my next property was a 200 unit. And at that stage, I did hire somebody else. But one thing I learned whenever we do our reviews with them is that they didn't really do a whole lot. I mean, between the 1st and the 5th of the month, a lot of people paid and they were busy taking payments. But then I thought that's really inefficient. Why don't we just set everybody up on credit cards and only do auto payments? So that's exactly what we did. And nobody moved out and now everybody's on auto pay. So boom, I checked that off the list. Managers no longer needed to take payments. Well, I still need a manager to take the phone calls. I still need a manager to pick up the phone whenever somebody calls and has a problem. But here's what I learned is that after I had, I went from 200 unit property to a 400 and kept growing up to 13 different properties. I essentially learned that I was paying people, anywhere from $45,000 to $60,000 a year to sit at a desk and work only a couple hours out of each day. And I thought, man, this is really inefficient. What if I could take all the tasks that are exactly the same, remove the managers from those properties, and just do everything remotely? And so that's really the third way to do it, is to utilize technology and systems to not have a manager sit at the property each and every single day. Utilize technology and systems and find ways to run your real estate business remote with the help of one manager instead of having to pay 13 different managers. And that's how I run it today, is to use technology, use systems, use automation, use the internet in order to run a really efficient business. And that third way is how I really started to scale my real estate portfolio, my self-storage portfolio, is to say, hey, you know what, hold on a second. I don't need to pay somebody 40, 50, 60 grand a year. Instead, I'm going to pay some technology costs and I'm going to make the properties more profitable. And that's how we run the business. So if you're thinking about getting into self-storage, one thing I want you to know is you don't have to have a manager sit there, especially not in the post-2020 world. With coronavirus, everybody, nobody expects managers anymore. If somebody's on the property, that's kind of just something that's there, and a lot of people don't even want that. So we were doing what we call the unmanned business model, is what it's called when you don't have somebody on site and you do everything remotely. The unmanned business model, we were doing that before COVID. When COVID hit, boom, we were ready to be ahead of the curve, right? Everybody else was having to figure out, all the other self-storage places were having to figure out, how do I remove the manager from this property and still run the business? But we were already set up. We were doing it in a cost-efficient way, and we were rocking and rolling. Everything was going smooth. So the point here, the 3 different ways you can do it yourself, you can pay somebody else to do it, or you can utilize technology systems and remote labor. And the third way is the way I do it today. And if you were to get into real estate, especially self-storage, that is the way I would recommend you do it as well, okay? So I hope this video was extremely valuable. If you guys want more self-storage content, do me a favor, drop a comment below, ask a question about self-storage, and I'll make some more content on how to buy self-storage, how to value self-storage, whatever questions you have about self-storage as an investment. I love commercial real estate, but I have a very, very special place in my heart for self-storage specifically, and that is my specialty. So if you guys have any questions, drop a comment below. In the meantime, I want you to check out some of my other videos, subscribe to the channel because I'm going to drop more content later this week. We're going to keep on rolling, teaching you guys how to be a real estate investor and scale to financial freedom and beyond. See you next time.